On the 15th of September, the 2025 Arab Islamic Extraordinary Summit took place. In this summit, Arab leaders, Muslim leaders came together and discussed the recent events that occurred affecting the Muslim community around the world, the Ummah. Namely, Israel's attack on Iran, the war that followed, and also Israeli strikes in Qatar on the Hamas leadership. There was widespread condemnation of Israeli expansion, foreign policy, aggressive foreign policy. However, there's going to be a continuation of these countries doing absolutely nothing. And this is going to stay the case as long as America continues its unwavering support for Israel. And that doesn't look like it's going to go away anytime soon. The American executive, legislature, and bureaucracy is in tandem with the desires of the Israeli government, the Israeli deep state. This is not going to change unless there's significant upheaval in the American political system. I simply don't see this happening even if there's a civil war. I think that the American deep state bureaucracy is so strong, so intact. I really don't see anything dismantling it unless the United States itself ceases to exist. I think it's the most robust entity in the entirety of the United States. If there's a civil war, it will likely be between the left and the right. It will be sectarian when it comes to political divides. The dichotomy between left and right is becoming even more extreme and polarized day by day within the United States, and you could say in the Western world mostly. I mean, in the United States recently we've got the murder of Charlie Kirk. A few months ago, the murder of a Democratic Congresswoman and her husband in her own home. These are just examples of political violence that has been extremely frequent in recent times in America. And unfortunately, it's going to keep happening. This seems like it's a tangent to what I initially discussed in terms of the Arab League, the Muslim majority countries. But I think it's very relevant because one might argue that the American empire is coming to an end because for two reasons. Firstly, civil unrest domestically within the United States, but also around the world. You've got many countries that are getting to America's level, whether it's economically, militarily, in terms of soft power and influence, namely China. However, I think that this is overblown. I think that America still has a chokehold in so many places around the world, especially the Middle East. The question that's typically asked is that what benefit does Israel provide to the United States? Now, the United States support for Israel is mostly unconditional. It's de facto unconditional in this moment, as I said at the start of the video, because of the bureaucracy of the United States, the deep state, the executive, the Congress. All of these are intertwined with Israeli interests. But then you've also got the relationship between the CIA and Mossad in terms of the Middle Eastern intelligence that Israel provides to the United States is extremely valuable for the United States. Arguably, Mossad is the best in the world when it comes to Middle Eastern intelligence, because even if CIA is the best in the world as in terms of the intelligence agency, when it comes to specifically the Middle East, many people argue that the Mossad is unrivaled. So that I'd say that is probably the biggest benefit Israel provides to the United States. It's a proxy for the United States to maintain its influence in the Middle East. And one could argue this isn't really the United States' influence, it's Israel's influence. The United States is simply following the lead of Israel. Whatever Israel requires, the United States follows suit, like the Iran war. But you can't forget that, as I said before, the foreign policy of the United States, the most important institution of the United States, their policy direction, their plan, objectives, they're all intertwined with what the Israeli objectives are, at least when it comes to foreign policy. The simple fact that the American bureaucracy, the executive, Congress, these are all mostly at least aligned with the objectives of the Israelis, whether it's through lobbying or whatever reason. Coming back to the main point that I was saying at the start of the video, the Arab League, the Muslim world cannot do anything to stop whatever Israel is going to do in the near future unless there's this unwavering support for Israel cut by the United States, which I find next to impossible in the next few years or possibly even in the next few decades, because United States institutions would need to be significantly diminished as we know them today. Obviously, one could argue, okay, if all the Muslim majority countries came together and allied against Israel, Israel would be significantly outnumbered. Perhaps even Israel and the United States together, they'd be significantly outnumbered. But you can't forget really that these countries, they already have, on the other hand, deals with the United States. They're not going to put those aside. They are to a large extent dependent on the United States as well. You could argue that, okay, they're going to go to China because China is emerging as the next superpower of the world, if it isn't already. But then you've got to understand also that China and America, not only is there this continued policy of mutually assured destruction that came into fruition in the Cold War, there's also this idea and this reality that China and the United States are dependent on one another. If there's a war, their resources will be constrained. This is going to be destructive for both of them. A global war is one that would possibly arise if there is a conflict between Muslim majority countries and Israel. This would be disastrous for all sides involved. But also, you've got the Samson option of Israel, which is a military doctrine where if Israel is facing military extinction, extinction as a state, they're going to deploy their nuclear weapons and destroy the aggressor. These countries know this. This was probably not well known before in the Arab-Israeli wars that happened. And since then, you've had many Arab or Muslim majority countries signing normalization agreements, peace treaties with Israel, establishing bilateral relations. There isn't really this intention to do another Arab-Israeli war, which would take back 40, 50 years of diplomacy that has already occurred between these countries. Even those who have not recognized Israel yet, like the Saudis, they de facto recognize them because of their close relationship with America. And as I said before in this video, America and Israel are extremely intertwined with one another when it comes to their objectives. So I think that it would take really the loss of American support for Israel, to almost completely, because right now it's a binary thing. They're not going to do anything like cut a little bit of support. It's either the United States exists. As long as the United States exists, they're going to support Israel for the reasons that I mentioned. And once that support goes away, then it's a completely different geopolitical situation. But for the time being, I simply don't see that happening. These summits, these condemnations of Israel mean nothing. They can say however much they want. It's just not going to change anything.